Hiding. That was the hope Phoebe Bishop's family had been holding on to. But that's now crushed. The teenager's flatmates have been charged with her murder, and tonight human remains have been found in the search for her body.
What happened to Phoebe Bishop? At 17, Phoebe Jade Bishop was at the brink of everything. That electrifying space where freedom meets fearlessness, where you're just old enough to want your own life and still young enough to believe nothing bad can really happen. She had just begun carving her path. She was chasing love, saving for her own travels, dreaming in color. Then, one ordinary May morning, in a small Australian town, Phoebe disappeared. No trace, no goodbyes, just silence. What happened to Phoebe Bishop? Why did no one stop it? And how did two adults, people trusted enough to house her, end up accused of her murder? Gingin, Queensland, a town that once won awards for being Australia's friendliest, now whispers a darker legacy. Tucked roughly 50 kilometers west of Bundaberg, it's the kind of place where secrets don't stay buried, unless, it seems, someone wants them buried very badly. Phoebe stood out in Gingin. She was spirited, bold, a little cutthroat in the way teenage girls are when they haven't yet learned to apologize for their strength. Her mother described her as full of heart. Her friends say she made noise in the best way. Laughter, opinions, big dreams. She wasn't the type to vanish quietly. She had a plan. She had saved money on her own to visit her boyfriend in Perth. The trip was set for mid-May. She packed her suitcase with precision. She even printed posters. Posters that would tragically be used in the search for her after she was gone. Her roommates, Tina Bramley and James Wood, both in their 30s, claimed they drove her to the Bundaberg airport around 8:30 a.m. on May 15th. But if that were true, where did she go? Phoebe never appears on airport security footage. No check-in, no boarding pass. No camera ever caught her walking into the terminal. Her name didn't show up in the airline logs. And that phone call her boyfriend got that morning. A call full of panic, background yelling, then eerie silence. That was the last sound of her anyone heard. And here's where the story begins to crumble. Tina and James insisted they dropped her off at the airport, but surveillance showed their gray Hyundai driving in the opposite direction 2 hours later, down a back route leading not to any runway, but toward an isolated wilderness region known as Goodnight Scrub National Park. Why would you take a scenic detour after dropping someone off at the airport? Why change your route? And then, as police later discovered, your license plates? This wasn't a detour, it was a lie. The home Phoebe shared with the couple, where she had moved after leaving her mother's house, was soon revealed to be a nightmare. Not a haven, not a new chapter, but something far worse. When police entered the property, they weren't prepared for what they found. Few would be. Mountains of garbage, rotting food, feces smeared on walls, razor blades scattered on the floor. And in the yard, 4 dead dogs decomposing in the open. There was no attempt to hide them, no shame, no explanation. And yet somehow Phoebe's room was still clean. Her things were folded, her suitcase packed, her door frame smashed, like someone had kicked it open in a hurry. Why was the rest of the house a disaster, but her room oddly untouched, almost preserved? Was she planning to return, or did someone stage it to make it seem like she was? When investigators examined the Hyundai, they found something chilling: a sawed-off shotgun, replica weapons, and ammunition. Then came the strange detail. The Hyundai logo on the car had been peeled off and replaced with a fake Toyota emblem. Spray paint and duct tape hid the original badge, as if someone knew they'd be watched and went to elaborate lengths to throw off investigators. By now, it was no longer a missing persons case. It was becoming a homicide. When questioned again, James changed his story. Now he claimed that Phoebe panicked on the way to the airport, that she got upset, so they pulled over and left her in the car to cool off. According to him, they returned and she was gone. Just like that. They didn't call her family, didn't alert the police. They just drove away. Who does that? What adult entrusted with a teenager leaves her on the side of the road and drives off? What were they really doing in that car? By late May, the house had officially become a crime scene. Police were combing every inch, discovering signs of decay, of pain, of violence. Neighbors called it a dump. Community members called it something worse, a house of hell. The image of Phoebe, vibrant, funny, defiant, living in such filth was more than heartbreaking. It was enraging. Then came a chilling discovery. Surveillance showed Tina's Hyundai with two different license plates on the day Phoebe vanished, hours apart. The car was seen once near the airport and later headed toward the park, wearing a different plate entirely. Was this a cold, premeditated cover-up? A botched plan? Did they think no one would notice? And still, Phoebe was missing. That changed on June 6th. Deep inside Goodnight Scrub National Park, nearly 9 kilometers from the initial search site, a cadaver dog and a lone detective veered off track. On a whim, they decided to search a similar-looking bush track. It was a long shot. It was the right one. Buried under dense scrub and thick tangled brush, they found human remains. Forensics confirmed it. Phoebe Bishop had been found. That 17-year-old was dead, dumped like garbage in a place she never should have been. Her luggage and phone were never recovered. The cause of death has not yet been released. But the pain, that was immediate. Her mother, Kylie, who had clung to hope for 3 agonizing weeks, now faced the unimaginable. And yet, through her grief, she stood before a crowd of hundreds at a candlelight vigil in Gingen and did something remarkable. She asked the town not to take their anger out on the families of the accused. They didn't make those choices, she said. Phoebe would want compassion. How can someone find the grace to say that while standing in the ashes of their child's stolen life? Even now, the mystery isn't over. On July 1st, police arrested a third person, 30-year-old Kieran Daniel Mahauser. He was charged with 2 counts of accessory after the fact to murder. What did he do? Authorities say he accessed Phoebe's mobile phone, possibly to delete data, to mislead investigators, to protect someone. But who was he protecting? And how did he get the phone? Was he at the house? Was he part of the plan? Or just another pawn in someone else's game? That question may be answered on August 25th, when Mouser appears in court. But the most important questions, the ones that haunt, may never have answers. What happened in that car? Why didn't they call for help? What could have possibly happened to justify taking a young girl's life? A girl who just wanted to visit her boyfriend, to start her summer, to escape the chaos she'd grown up in. Did Phoebe know something? Did she threaten to leave or tell someone what she saw in that house? Was it rage, fear, or something even darker? Tina Bramley and James Wood remain in custody. Their next court appearance is August 11th, and prosecutors believe their case is strong. It's built on phone data, surveillance footage, physical evidence, and contradicting stories. But there's still no revealed motive, no confession, no closure. And for those who knew Phoebe, that may be the hardest part. She had spent so much of her life bouncing between homes, states, and caregivers, constantly uprooted, constantly adapting. In one text message, she called her living situation a f***ing hellhole. In another, she begged her father to let her move in. The answer was no. She was a girl trying to outrun her past, only to collide with something even worse. In the end, her story doesn't begin with a crime scene. It begins with a girl full of fire, stepping into a house she thought was a path to freedom. What she found instead was darkness, the kind of darkness that doesn't just take a life, but tries to erase it. But Phoebe won't be erased. She is the name on every candle at the vigil, the face in every poster, the voice behind every mother's fear and every teen girl's warning. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.